Welcome to Surrender School, Emotional Sobriety Workshop. Realizing that no one is coming.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So glad you're here. Well, this is chapter 7, Realizing that No One is Coming. Page 131, Dr. Berger tells us that we often make an incorrect diagnosis of ourselves. We diagnose ourselves as hopeless and unfixable, rather than thinking that we just haven't found the right path to healing yet. And I know I felt that way. After 20 plus years in and out of program, in and out of relapse, no lasting abstinence, no recovery at all. For me, I had to do the work to figure it out myself, to find my right path to recovery. Now, Dr. Berger says that a lot of us believe the toxic idea that the right program or healer will somehow fix us. Page 132, he says, we have this assumption that some outside power is going to rescue us. We think this rescue will be found through some magical force outside of us. I think most compulsive overeaters and food addicts do this. We are looking for the magical food plan, the magical sponsor, the right way to do the steps, the only right way to do the steps, the perfect method out there, perfect food plan, the perfect sponsor out there that's finally going to make us abstinent and recover. That's not been my experience. Page 132. Dr. Berger gives an example, Philip, of someone who was looking for something outside himself to rescue him. Dr. Berger tells us Philip wanted his future to reverse the experiences he had in his past. Philip's childhood was extremely difficult, and Dr. Berger calls it a classic example of how to raise a child to be an addict. He says Philip's addiction ensured his survival, but it crippled his intellectual, emotional, and spiritual growth. Everywhere that Philip turned for help, he was told that he was the problem. This unintentionally reinforced his self-hate and self-contempt. And I have to tell you, I think we do this to people in our program. I feel like there's a lot of shaming of people who have trouble getting and staying abstinent. And instead of suggesting that they need to find their right way to work program, they're just told to work harder at the right way. And it goes back to that definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I tried over and over again, harder and harder each time to practice the program the way that I was told was the right way. And I never got abstinent and I never got recovery. But I kept trying. And it just didn't work. And until I was willing to do the work of figuring out what did work for me, I wasn't going to recover. So page 137, Dr. Berger told Philip that his answers didn't lie out there, but rather within his own psyche. Page 138, he says that Philip was told and believed the big lie, that he was defective. But what Philip found out was that no one was coming to rescue him and that he had been the one he had been searching for all along. And I think there is that sense of defectiveness, brokenness. You hear it in the rooms and you hear it, on the Zooms where people believe they are irreparably broken, that they aren't capable of recovery because the ways they have tried haven't worked yet. Dr. Berger believes that the idea that someone is coming to solve our problems is just a variation on the emotional dependency theme that we talked about. He says this idea diminishes our role in our own well-being. It tells us that we think we can only be fixed when someone else gives us the answer. This idea goes against our true nature. Each of us has our own answers deep inside, waiting to be discovered. Page 140. We think we should get recovery perfectly, never falling down, never making mistakes, when falling down and making mistakes are the very hallmark of learning. There's no starting over, there's no going back to day one. It's you are moving forward. You pick yourself back up, you learn from the mistake, you learn from the slip, you learn from the relapse, and you move forward. That's what learning and recovery are all about. Dr. Berger is quick to point out that we all need support. And I cannot, that is absolutely true. I absolutely needed support. And he says we will need it for our entire lives. But those who support us don't cure us. They support us. No one is coming. We need to learn to show up for ourselves. Further on page 140, Dr. Berger tells us that our drive to be whole, to heal, is instinctive. We want to recover. Most of us desperately want to recover. But toxic ideas hold us back. They prevent our healing and our recovery. Toxic ideas are ideas that make us less than who we really are. They obstruct our development and interfere with our growth. They reinforce the idea that we need to be someone else and that we are not okay. They reinforce the idea that I am okay only if conditions, people, and life itself live up to my expectations. Dr. Berger explains that Philip believed that something or someone would magically make right the betrayals of his childhood. His toxic idea was that there was something out there that would rescue him from his pain that he had inside. And it was toxic because it diminished the role Philip needed to play in his own healing. He needed to rescue himself. He also needed support, but ultimately it was his job to do the work. Page 142, Dr. Berger talks about nourishing ideas as opposed to toxic ideas. And nourishing ideas support our true nature. They enhance our growth and encourage us to honor our true selves. They foster self-esteem and self-confidence. No one is coming is a nourishing idea. It is telling you that you are capable of recovery and emotional sobriety. You are the hero you have been looking for. That's all I've got.
See you next week.